he would be doing special effects and making things and, molding all of his little critters and that kind of stuff, regardless of whether he got paid for it or not. And they say that if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And I don't think he's ever worked a day in his life.
I've always been a friend of danger. A life of playing safe could never do. And I'm much too quick to get on with a stranger. And there's not too many strangers than you.
I guess 6 or 7 years old, and it was Return of the Jedi and Ghostbusters collectively. I didn't quite understand what I was seeing as far as the monsters and all the puppets went. I just thought, the monsters were filmed separately because they were too dangerous to have around the actors. So I thought that you worked with real monsters. And I just kind of started making my own stuff, whatever I could, with, household materials like wet paper towels and red food coloring for wounds, and playing with a very large, heavy VHS camcorder, making my own movies with friends. Then all through high school I started learning, the formal craft of it, what was actually involved. Working on the school plays and musicals with the teacher at my high school. He showed me a lot of great old school tricks, which I still use now, and just kind of gave me the doorway into this world.
When Jeremy was in school, he was out in Pittsburgh, and in a way I think it was kind of good because it let him, he was alone out there, so it let him be as consumed with his art as his brain sort of drives him to be. His bedroom was covered with dust because he had been sculpting and sanding and all that kind of stuff right in the middle of his bedroom, like he slept in his shop.
A lot of times I'll come up with a kill scene in a script, and I'll be like, hey, I want this girl to get like her guts ripped out or something like that. Like, what else can we do to really amp it up? And then Jeremy's like, oh, let me think about it, and he'll, next thing you know, it's not just her guts coming out, but like it's her spine too. And like when her spine comes out, the guts are wrapping around the spine. Now there's blood shooting in every direction.
We had some complicated effects. Like there's one effect where we had to have this guy's head completely collapse in on itself and spray slime everywhere, and we worked out some vacuum technique where we hooked up to a wet dry vac and just sucked the head in and pumped out slime all over the place. He's got these gelatin eyeballs with a heat gun that melts the eyes. But yeah, he brought a lot to the table. He went the extra mile, was always sending me sketches of his ideas of how to pull things off.
A broken neck in Blood Night when the nurse gets her neck twisted around 180 degrees. And this was Jeremy's decision on how we were going to do it and make it look extremely effective.
Through a combination of editing, prosthetics, and silicone dummy of the actress, they edited it together, and it's seamless.
How on earth did you get out of your room, Mary? Come on, let me take you back.
Until I freeze framed it and went frame by frame, I couldn't pick out where the dummy was and where the actress was. So that was the first one that I was really like, okay, this, I really may have something here. I think I'm actually pretty good at this. I think I might do all right for myself. This giant 7-foot alien, the biggest thing I've ever sculpted in completion. What it is actually is it's going to be a collection of shorts aimed at pitching a series to the Sci-Fi Network. He's rewriting the script this week and that week. He doesn't have anything specific in mind. It's not like he said, I want to make an alien, this is what I want it to look like, build it for me and we'll shoot it. No, he's going off of what I'm building. I'll sculpt something different. He'll completely rewrite the script saying, this is amazing, I want to do this. It's getting him excited for his own project, which is an amazing feeling. 85 pounds of clay and 5 months of work until it was finally approved and exactly what he wanted. It's going to be on display at the International Makeup Artists Trade Show in a few weeks. So before we even shoot him in the film, he's going to be premiered in the Makeup Artists Museum, which is very exciting because thousands of my peers will get to see all the craft and detail that have gone into it over the past few months.
I actually think it's kind of like an obsession with him. You know what I mean? Like, I think I know he gets tired and he's beat, and and I'll talk to him sometimes, and it's like 5 in the morning, and he's been sculpting for 12 hours.
Way more than people realize, because they just think about on the set and what's got to be done while you're shooting. But what they don't realize is all the work that goes into it behind the scenes, preparations for the shoots. I mean, Jeremy was working on some of these gags he's pulling off for 3 months prior to the shoot. And, he was only really on set for 10 days, but he probably spent 40 days at his set.
Jeremy's a really good sport with how much he works, because he comes home and he does not sleep at all, because he'd rather be spending his time with Zoe and I. It's tough. You have to make sacrifices, but I think in the long run it's really worth it just to see how much he loves what he does.
From spring through summer working on Boardwalk Empire. It started as one episode. They were just looking to try a new effects artist, and I got the call, and it was a lot of stuff for one episode with only 2.5 weeks notice. 2 very, very elaborate gags that needed to be, triplicated on both of them. And then towards the middle of the summer, in June, I got a call from a woman I had never met, but who was friends with one of the many artists I met on Boardwalk, who asked if I would like to be her key artist on a new CBS series called The 2-2, as in Precinct 22, which is executive produced by Robert De Niro, and it's a very exciting, new cop show. A minimum week is 50 hours. That's, very light. Usually we go 60 or 70. And yeah, that's where I am.
He's so talented that, of course the next logical step would be to, get a bigger job and get paid better. But I think his roots are really in independent horror, and I don't see him ever leaving it.
And I think it's great that he is able to, branch outside of the genre, outside of the indie film world, and work on, these very mainstream, big budgeted, high profile jobs, further his own career and hone his craft and work with other artists and still come home to indie horror. I know that's where his heart really is.
The best bit of advice I ever got was Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger and all those guys talking about how when they were, just starting out themselves, they always wanted to be a place where they could work on top tier, high budget films, which they do. They work on, the Narnia movies, $200 million movies, but they still go and do tiny little independent movies whenever they can, because they love the craft. Once you've paid your mortgage, then you can have fun with it, and I that's what I've always kept that in mind as that's what I want to be able to do as an artist. I've been given a lot of lucky breaks in my career. I just made some right phone calls at the right time, met some right people at the right time. So without those, I never would have been able to get my shop to where it is now. So I'm hopeful for the chance to give some of that back and help some of these young directors and writers who wouldn't otherwise have a chance the ability to make their movies and make them as terrifying as they can be. And just in awe that I'm actually doing what I love. Every project is exciting. Every project has its parts you don't want to do, but you're doing them to do the parts you really do want to do. And it's such a privilege. And just the larger the projects I get to work on, the more excited I am. And people on the studio sets I'm now working on, they look at me, they're like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm smiling, I'm giddy, I'm really excited to be here."